In my entire life, I've never had a bad road trip, and when it includes free stuff, even better. In this installment, we'll check out 30 of the interesting, silly, and free roadside attractions located in northern Indiana. It is quite the odyssey. From the very epic, the historic, the very beautiful, family fun, artsy stuff, places where ancient people lived, to things that make you shake your head, there are some true gems. So grab your favorite snack, a biggie drink, and let's hit the road. When you live near the Ohio River, anything north of Seymour is northern Indiana. People talk different. The land is mostly flat, and almost no one says you're fine if you bump into them at the store. I bet if you ordered a pizza with bangos, they wouldn't know you actually meant green peppers. Our first stop on this ride is the beautiful town of Columbus, Indiana. It was once marketed as the Athens on the Prairie. While you can go to the visitor center and take a bus tour, I'll cut to the chase. The entire town is nationally recognized for its architecture and art. Most of that is downtown. Starting at the courthouse is one of the most unusual veterans memorials. There are 25 columns made of limestone and the names of 156 local veterans. It is not under construction. It's been this way for years. If you walk inside the monument, you'll see diary entries made by young soldiers, etched into the stone. Beside the historic Irwin Mansion is one of the most beautiful places in town, Irwin Gardens. In springtime, with flowers blooming, it's like something from a dream, and there are many great places to take a photo. But when I was a kid, the Commons Mall was the only place I wanted to go. It's home to Chaos One, a 7-ton sculpture that used to fascinate my young and impressionable mind. If you take the escalator to the top, you can get a much better view of this monster. It is 30 feet tall in its glory. In its heyday, it shot steel balls in a perpetual, useless circle. If it still worked, it would be on a million ASMR videos. The Commons still has a completely free, very large indoor playground, so weather is never an issue. I have to level with you. I miss the submarine and the immensely dangerous fire tower. So many great memories. But so many are still being made today with the renovation. Just across the street is the Kids Commons. While not free, it's worth mentioning as a great children's museum. And it has the world's largest toilet slide. Yes, that is a thing for your bucket list. But you would be missing out if you didn't see Zaharico's, a soda fountain restaurant and museum built in 1900. Celebrating over 120 years in business, the museum is free. But if you don't score a milkshake, you'll wish you did. And finally, Mill Race Park. It's a beautiful park with a covered bridge and marina. In 1974, it made the news when a creature resembling Bigfoot terrorized park visitors. It was never determined whether it was a hoax or the real deal, but it hasn't been seen since. Camp Atterbury at Edinburgh is both a 34,000-acre active military base and the site of several free roadside attractions. It has a large outdoor museum with tanks, a helicopter, and other military vehicles. It also has a small gauge railway where you can sometimes spot enthusiasts riding their trains. For perspective, here's my hand on the track. But perhaps the most historic is the POW Chapel. It was built in 1943 by Italian POWs. Using flowers, berries, and sometimes even their own blood, they expertly painted biblical figures. Just north on Highway 31, on the left side of the road, is a really big rocking chair. Known as Big John, it stands 32 feet tall. In 2004, it was the largest rocking chair in the world. It is very impressive. Further north on Highway 31 and east on 400 South is a truly unusual roadside attraction. To be more accurate, it's a middle of the road attraction. This is the final resting place of Nancy Curlin Barnett. As the story goes, Nancy was buried here back before this was a county road. When builders of the road got to the grave, they intended to dig up Nancy and put her somewhere else, but a descendant with a shotgun would have none of it. And so, the road was built around Nancy, and today, people drop off coins to pay their respects. At downtown Indianapolis, on the Capitol grounds, is something that's made quite a stir. To some, it's artwork. To others, it's a stargate, a portal to another time or dimension. But if I could go back in time when I was younger and skinnier, that would be totally okay. North of downtown Indianapolis is Crown Hill Cemetery, and the grave sites of some interesting people you might have heard of. You might have heard of President Benjamin Harrison, or James Whitcomb Riley, one of Indiana's most famous writers. But that's not why a majority of people come to Crown Hill Cemetery. They come to see the grave of public enemy number one, John Dillinger. People have tried to dig him up, requiring over a ton of concrete as a deterrent. They have also chipped away at his gravestone for souvenirs. On the day I visited, someone had left a pack of cigarettes and a very real .45 caliber bullet. Why? Because. But more impressive to me is a beloved Hollywood actor and personal hero, James Baskett. Never heard of him? Let me say one phrase and you'll know exactly who he was. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-a. Born in Indianapolis, James Baskett was a fellow Hoosier. He starred in the 1946 Disney film, Song of the South, as Uncle Remus. As a kid, I played that soundtrack over and over. I can only wonder if he realized just how much happiness he brought children across the world. It was a true honor to pay my respects. Leaving Crown Hill and heading north, we come to a very unusual place called the Ruins of Holiday Park. Back in the 1950s, these sculptures and building facade were in New York City as part of the St. Paul building. After the building was slated for demolition, a competition was held to see whom would get these incredible items. Holiday Park in Indianapolis won the contest. The items were dismantled, boxed, and shipped over 700 miles. The figures are the work of Carl Bitter, a renowned sculptor of the late 1800s. And no, these ruins are not for climbing. It's a looky, not a climby. Traveling west on 36, we leave Indianapolis and head off into many natural surroundings, including the town of Mansfield. The Mansfield Roller Mill was built in 1880 by Jacob Rome. This over 140-year-old structure provides a beautiful backdrop. Water flows over the dam and under a very large covered bridge. Southwest of Mansfield is Bridgeton, with a covered bridge, dam, and mill. The dam is 200 feet wide and 9 feet tall. The covered bridge above it is 261 feet long. The mill itself was built in 1870, over 150 years ago. Northwest of Bridgeton at Rockville is Billy Creek Village. This is an 1800s era town, frozen in time. During the mild months, the buildings are open for tours. And a general store sells many fine souvenirs and candy. Situated northwest of Rockville, and as we say in Indiana, a fair stretch up the road, is the Portland Arch Nature Preserve. If you can do a moderate 15-minute hike and have a good sense of balance, you'll see one of Indiana's rare natural arches. Made of Mansfield sandstone, the bluff is absolutely massive. But the portal itself isn't very big. In the entire state, this is one of only 3 arches. The other 2 are in southern Indiana. Traveling north on 41 will take you to Williamsport, and the tallest publicly accessible waterfall in Indiana. Williamsport Falls is 90 feet tall, and if it's rained the night before, it's a true beauty with no hiking involved. Going northeast along the Wabash River is the Black Rock Nature Preserve. It's where ancient people took shelter in caves high above the bluff. It is a little treacherous. Do not attempt if you have poor balance. It's a long way down if you fall. There are numerous caves to be found. In the fall, it's an outstanding view of the Wabash River. And during the week, you pretty much have the place to yourself. It's in the middle of nowhere. Traveling northeast through Lafayette, we find Battleground, Indiana, and the last stand of Chief Tecumseh's warriors in Indiana. This was the Battle of Tippecanoe, in which William Henry Harrison's forces were attacked in the night. "37 soldiers died, 151 were wounded. Chief Tecumseh's brother, the holy man Tenskwatawa, told warriors that they had magical powers. Bullets would not hurt them. But after many died or were wounded, the entire village fled. On the same premises as the monument is a free museum that expands on the story. Traveling east to Kokomo is Highland Park, and 3 roadside attractions at one place, starting with a covered bridge. But inside these buildings are the star attractions. The first is the largest known sycamore tree to ever exist in Indiana, or what's left of it. The stump is estimated to be over 1,500 years old, 50 feet in circumference, and had lower branches that were 8 feet in diameter. It was a huge tree. And then there's Old Ben, the largest steer in the world. Before he died and was stuffed for posterity, he was a whopping 4,720 pounds, stood 6 feet 4 inches tall, and was 16 feet 2 inches from his nose to the end of his tail. He was quite the steer, and that's no bull. There's also a restored Civil War cannon. But after the giant tree and enormous steer, it's a little anticlimactic. Traveling southeast to Fairmount, we arrive at Park Cemetery and the grave of a Hollywood icon. Fairmount was the hometown of actor James Dean. He starred in 8 Hollywood films before he died in a car accident at only 24 years old. Although it's been nearly 70 years since he passed away, fans still come to pay their respects and leave trinkets. Going southeast to Fortville, we find a huge pink elephant wearing large glasses and drinking a martini. Because, well, why not? You know you want your picture taken next to it. Continuing east to Richmond is a beautiful waterfall, just a short walk from the parking lot. Known as Thistlethwaite Falls, it is 20 feet tall with a shallow basin for wading. And believe it or not, It's man-made, created in 1854. Going north and in the middle of nowhere is the highest point in Indiana. Known as Hoosier Hill, it's 1,257 feet above sea level. While that sounds impressive, it's an easy walk to the summit. However, it's a legal requirement to overact, like it's a tough trip to the top. I reached the summit without an oxygen tank. Traveling up Highway 27 is something that's been on my bucket list, even if it meant I'd not make it before dark. This is a place so different from southern Indiana, with thousands of acres of flat land and giant windmills dotting the landscape. In the town of Bern is a huge structure at Munstenberg Plaza, the clock tower. Without a doubt, this is a huge timepiece and like something out of Europe. It is so much bigger in person than it looks on a computer screen. Built in 2010, it's 160 feet tall, 32 feet wide, and over 2.4 million pounds. This is a town with a strong Swiss heritage and the 5th largest Amish community in North America. Not only does it feel safe, it was actually rated the safest town in Indiana by Bloomberg Businessweek. Though it took all day and many hours to get there, I can honestly say it was worth it. Like many checkboxes in our life, some things are better late than never. And as the sunset falls on another road trip, I can only feel blessed to travel through another portal, one that led to many unexpected and wonderful things. Adventure is still out there, and sometimes it only takes a road trip to find it.